Elvis is a log viewer for SAS. It makes working with SAS logs on disk much easier. So in the background folder here we have a typical set of SAS logs that are stored on disks from batch programs that have been run. And we can't see very much information about these logs here. One way to look at them is obviously to open them in Notepad or another text editor and look through and look for errors and try and work out what's gone wrong if there are errors. And that works, but it's not brilliant, so Elvis makes that process much easier. Just open the log in Elvis and we immediately get a much more structured view of the log. So in this case we can see there's three main panes in the view here. We've got the main log view, which has automatically jumps to the first line of the first macro in the log, so to skip over all the normal preamble at the top, and we can immediately see we've got color coding, various other features to help understand what's happening in the log here. We have special lines being highlighted, so you can specify a particular prefix, and any lines with that prefix will be highlighted and also appear down here in the quick find pane. And we also have on the left here the macro call tree, so we can see every macro and sub macro that's been called based on the analysis of the M logic lines. We can use that to collapse and uncollapse certain macro calls to make the log easier to follow. We can highlight bits of text and have those also appearing in the quick find pane at the bottom. We can just, in the usual way, press Control F to see our search terms. And we can also set up views. So at the moment we're using the normal view, but there are other preset views within Elvis, and you can set up your own views. A view is just a particular combination of line types to be shown, particular default macro calls that you might want to hide. So some of the standard SAS utility macros, you can hide the log generated by those macro calls to keep them out of your way. And you can also specify particular highlights that you might want to include in a view. So if it's a particular macro that you'd have to debug regularly, you might set up a special view for that and have particular macro variable references, for example, highlighted. And another useful feature is that we can recover the generated SAS code. So if we open another log, in this log we can see that some SAS code is being generated in these MPRINT lines. It's a very simple data step, but it's kind of hard to follow in the log. So by going to Tools, Reports, and SAS Source, Elvis will extract all the MPRINT lines, extract the code generated as shown on those MPRINT lines, and attempt to pretty print them as best it can, and allow you to recover that SAS code, copy and paste it, run it separately. And this can really help save time with debugging large macros to actually understand what generated code is actually being run. Another very useful feature in Elvis that was added in the most recent version is the folder view here on the left hand side, which shows an instant and automatically updated overview of the state of all the logs in a folder or number of folders. And this is really useful for monitoring the state of a large set of SAS programs where you might be generating your Adam programs or your TFLs. It's very common to have dozens of logs in a single folder, and this view will allow you to monitor all those logs and see which ones have any issues. So the color coding is green for a clean log with no errors or warnings, yellow for warnings, and red if there are any errors. And the purple is just if there are some special lines which can be used to communicate key information at key stages of a program. So here we have this program factorial.sas, which is just calculating a factorial using a recursive macro. We see here it's most recently run to calculate the factorial of 7, but let's edit that and just see how this works. So if I edit the program to calculate the factorial of 12, we'll get that out of the way, and I'll rerun that program. You see that as soon as the program runs, the log folder view is updated, and now we can see that the key result is actually communicated directly to us into the folder view here. And in a similar way, if there was to be an error in that program, let's say I enter a text value here. So my program has very poor error checking at the moment. I'll rerun that again. And we immediately see the log view updates to show that the factorial log is now red because there are errors, and the errors are directly shown in the folder view. So very quick and efficient way to keep an eye on the status of a large group of logs. One final feature in Elvis that can be very useful is the date calculator. This provides a very easy way to translate from SAS day numbers, which are just the numeric number of days since the 1st of January 1960, to an actual date. So you can very easily use these scrolling calendars to simply click on a date and see what its day number is, or we can type in a day number and see what date that corresponds to. We can calculate the duration between any two dates and so on. So it's the sort of thing that's you don't use every day, but when you need it, it can be very useful. So thanks for watching this video. Please look in the video description for links to download Elvis and download the free trial. See if it suits your needs, and please enjoy. Thanks for watching.
Thank you very much.